nice sun, even though it's freezing cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like sunny but cold. Did you say your mother? I just don't know.
COVID was off and they put it on the weekend.
Yeah.
This one is that's from cousin. I made her drawings because she was animals, so I made her drawings of animals. Then this is from him. I just drew the butterfly and put her name Joan. Because I know she likes skinny people. If I'm above one,
So I just barely drove.
because I was cleaning church fan.
So I'm gonna, I think Friday I'm gonna try to go with everything
Probably
John,
after
Brittany's
because
place.
I've been there.
All right, we're already live, so have y'all been gossiping?
No,
Because it
no.
probably picked you up. It's right there, see? No, right here. She's like, we never gossip. Girls don't gossip either. Well, Miss Ruth stepped by a train. Can you believe that in Hope, Arkansas? Have any of y'all ever got stepped by a train?
We almost did. I almost turned and went down Main Street to go down like.
I mean, I'm used to it because Conway was that kind of town too. It was a train town. There's train tracks everywhere in Conway. So you just had to learn. Of course, they ended up now they've built like, you know, overpasses and stuff pretty good in Conway, but in Hope you don't have many places like that. You just some places you're just stuck. Yeah, I did. The first time I tried to see how fast that motor went, I just lost it. So at least shows that it has some power, right? So when I went full blast, it just went, you know. And I was like, I better not lean back on it, you know. I've seen people with if they have like the bagger system, they'll pop wheelies because they'll get all those, like they get a lot of weight at the very back of it, and it'll make one pop. But my other one can't quite do that. It can't quite pop. It's kind of, its power is just a little, like I have a little delay if I really push hard on it. So, but Miss Ruth is on the way. I know you are good singers though. The only problem is, every song I look at and I imagine it without the music, I get worried.
But she likes cleaning. That's where I clean up cars. I can clean the inside of a car.
They say it's going to gonna be dry tomorrow too, so hopefully it'll dry out a little bit because it is very, very muddy outside. And,
Just be comfortable with
today I contemplated mowing somebody's yard and we got a hold of them, they're like, yeah, don't even try. It's just kind of a swamp, so.
You don't wanna get stuck the first day.
Yeah, it's like the first time I'm mowing on it, just immediately get completely stuck. I'll get stuck on it eventually, that's how that goes, so.
practice.
But you can get a song book and we can try to sing. I'm trying to think, does anybody know, He's All I Need? You know what his name is? I think that's it. It's one that we can sing without, I'm not sure if that's one in the book. Is it Christ is all I need, that's it, Christ. 131. Because that one is something we can sing a little bit, yeah, without. Let's stand up and try that. That's not too bad without the piano. After church, we're driving.
It's page 131.
Okay, thank you. She's a blessing. We're gonna go to Conway right after church and try to fix some siding for my aunt. Since I did some work for her, she knows I can do it now, so it's kind of, so we're gonna try to go up there just tomorrow, fix some siding. We gotta get back. They got, supposedly they have ball practice, but if you drove by the field, you might think you might be swimming in the field and not. Some of, when you have 4 kids playing ball, some of them got practice every day. And Henry's team's never practiced yet, so they're gonna be an awesome team, right? But I don't know, as any of the, who knows, maybe the other age group of your age hasn't practiced either, so maybe it'll be equal, right? Well, let's do Christ is All I Need, 131, and so we'll do both verses of that.
Christ is all I need. Christ is all
Lee's trip is Friday, and so if you're going on that, make sure you talk to Miss Ruth. Also Friday, if any kids would like to go to revival, I'm going to be taking my kids, so I'm already going to have 4 anointed people with me. So a few more anointed people will not matter. And we're going to go to Brother Barfield's church. And he's trying to do kind of it's like a team thing, but he said anybody can come. And he's actually starting tonight, and he's doing tomorrow night, Friday night. And so Friday night, though, I want to go to it for sure. I do not remember the preacher's name. I know the guy preaching it. What it is while he's preaching, his wife is like painting a picture during the preaching, and the painting, goes with the story of the preaching. It's pretty neat stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen stuff like that, different preachers. I've known some preachers who do that. Though sometimes the preacher will be painting while they're preaching. So I know you kids will enjoy that. And so
I think they said that his name is Brother Fox, and like when he's
Brother
done,
Fox,
when
okay,
he's
that
done, I
sounds
think they like have to shine a light on it.
yeah, they
and
shine
then
like
you can see-
a black light or something on it, and it shows something that you couldn't see before. So it'd be pretty neat. And so it's just in Texarkana, and I'll make sure we have some snacks on the van. Like I'll try to have some drinks on there and some snacks on the ride up. It's at 7, so we probably, if I'm picking you up on the van, I'll come by as early as 6, maybe even earlier. So let us know if you're coming, and we'll contact you again, and I'll even contact you Friday. But Miss Ruth will be leaving for their trip a little bit before I'm doing that. But anyways, I'll have all my kids, and then if there's some other kids that want to come, just let us know. We'll go up to Texarkana, get there at 7. I'm assuming we'll be back by 9:30. I don't know if it'll go to about 8:30. I know they're going to have games, kind of like we did at our teen rally, so you can win some prizes at that. And some, we even told them some of the games we did, so I think they're going to try maybe the one where you roll the can or you get the spatula. They're going to try some of that. And so I definitely am going to go up there for sure on Friday night. So any kids, and if you want to invite any of your friends, let them know. If you rode on the van, raise your hand if you rode on the van tonight with Miss Ruth. Talk to Miss Ruth about it, and if you have friends, make sure you tell her which friends, maybe if they're not here tonight, for me to check on. We know some folks we can check on, and we're definitely going to go. If any adults want to go with me, that's great. Then I can put my earplugs in and y'all can ride in the back with the kids, and it'll be even better, right? But just let me know, or if y'all just want to go up there and do anything. Or hey, if you got something you want me to give Brother Barfield to be a blessing, I'll bring it with me. So anything like that. But pray about it. I know he was trying to set this up and do it. It's been tough in his community building a church, and they got a great building. It'll be a lot of fun. And I'm going to try to do it. And honestly, if you're doing something Saturday morning, I hadn't planned on going, but if Friday night goes really well, I'm not opposed to taking my kids back up there. I'm going to, look at that and see. And so we might could even go back up on Saturday morning, but definitely going to go on Friday night. So just pray about it. If you'd like to come, if you got any guests that you want to bring with you, that'd be great. Let's do a pledge to the American flag. Our country needs help, so we need to pray for it. But let's pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Maybe seated. I felt like I was getting pressured on the speed of that pledge. I'm a slow pledger, and I heard, there was some speed pledging going on. Anybody else feel the pressure? Okay, so try to follow the leader on the pledge. Next time we do the pledge, we'll do it really slow. We'll be like, I pledge allegiance. Let's see if I can do that. But also, we got to pray for our country, right? We got a Supreme Court judge that's going to be, maybe getting confirmed or not. Of course, the war is still going on with Russia, Ukraine, and some other countries. But I want to say this. God hasn't given up on America, right? Because if he did, we'd know, right? The day he totally gives up, you think it's bad now? Wait till God gives up, right? And like I said, have you ever seen it where it seemed like a person was doing bad, and then like God gave up on them of us who can visually see it. And I think you'd see it if it happened to America. God has a lot of grace, He has a lot of mercy, and He's been using it a long time, so we just need to pray. Let's do this. Let's stand and sing another song, and we may do a kid song after this. Appreciate you kids for spring break. You were acting pretty good. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. We're like knock on wood, right? And so, how many of you wish it wouldn't have flooded during your spring break? Okay? It's kind of flooded the other day. But it probably likes it, so it's probably good for the cows to get a little water in the ground right now. So let's get our songbooks and sing.
Okay, turn
Probably
page.
not good because it's flooding out the chickens.
Well, I got a couple wet spots,
Yeah.
I turned to page 75, They gotta drink too.
You got stuff in you.
No.
The song leader made us sing that like 50 times. And he's really trying to emphasize the bound part. So like, he's like, okay, we're going to do it again. I'm bound for the promised bound. And it was just like, okay, we could not handle it. How many of y'all like it when song leaders are like, y'all can do better, and then they make you redo it? How many of y'all like that? Okay? It's like going to the doctor and then saying, you haven't been following your diet. Okay? Nobody really likes to hear these things, right? But we want to just sing and think we're pretty good, right? We're pretty good singers, right? Well, any kids that want to come up, let's sing Jesus Loves Me, This I Know. If there's any song you can get in your head, it's this song, right? Yep, we got one. It's just a blessing for kids learning piano, and I like that. If any of you Sunday school classes want to work on any songs or Bible verses for Sunday mornings, that's always a blessing. And even if you want your adults want to work on singing, talk to Miss Ruth, and you can sing with her, you can sing with somebody else, and just let her know. I know you probably don't want to do that, but if you do, talk to her and she can help you out and work some stuff out on that. But let's go ahead and let the kids go back. Let's see how quietly they can walk and how, look at this, they can walk with, don't have any pride to walk with humility. And don't walk goofy, no. We're going to be in 2 Kings chapter 4. 2 Kings chapter 4. I like the book of 2 Kings. I like reading about Elisha and Elijah, but I like reading about both of them. I like the things you can learn from them. I want to say again, I'm thankful for the lawnmower. I haven't really got to try it out, but I pulled it over here so you can check it out, and it is going to be a blessing. I can see improvements. They did improvements on it from the model we had, and they probably figured some stuff out, right? So we'll see when I drive it if it really worked. But there are some features about it I can tell are easier to change the oil, easier to change the air filter. It's easier to clean your deck out. They've got the way those open and stuff, they're kind of easier to get to. The grease fittings are a different spot, which is actually a little better because they're a little more protected. The electronics is way more protected. It's kind of built in a plastic box under the seat. Well, on the old one, some of that stuff is just out there. The fuse only had 3 fuses, but the fuse block was just out there. And there was times I had a blown fuse or had to do stuff there just because honestly it gets a lot of dirt. When you're mowing, you just get dirt in there. And so they kind of covered it up better where you can do that. They did some improvements on the deck. They added some enforcements on this one side. If you look at my deck, that side is completely in bad shape. It's the side you run, if you're running it on an edge, that side is the side you're going to run, and mine is just about tore to nothing, but they put like some round iron and welded it there. So there's a lot of good things like that on there. It holds more gas in it, which is good, except it costs a lot, right? But I know gas costs a lot. I understand. I went and my truck doesn't hold much gas, and that's the most it's ever cost me to fill my truck up because it just everything's just a little bit more, and so I'm going to convert it to a Flintstones truck. All right, just get a sawzall, open the bottom up, and that way if I run out of gas, I can just try to run it. Right? I need to lose weight anyways, right? So look at the positive side of things, right? Well, 2 Kings chapter 4. If you'll stand, I'll read fast. If you listen fast. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 8. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as often as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. At first, it doesn't look like he's a Baptist because she had to constrain him to eat bread. Okay, but then after that, he said every time he passed by, he went in to eat bread. So he got converted to Baptist. Somewhere in between there, right? And she said unto her husband, Behold, now I perceive that this is a holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set up for him there a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he cometh to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and turned into the chamber, and lay there. So obviously, he's doing this often. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, Call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him, and he said to him, Say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. Now, obviously, she was taking care of both of them. His servant, Gehazi, was always with him. You always read that. And, it says, Thou hast been careful for us with all this care. I don't know if there was 2 beds in the chamber. It doesn't say. But she was hoping that too. It says, What is to be done for thee? Wouldst thou be spoken for to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. So he's like, what do you want me to do for you? And basically, I could speak to the king if I need to. And she's like, basically saying nothing. You don't have to do anything. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily, she hath no child, and her husband is old. Okay, so I read that as we need to get her a young husband. No, that's not what. They went the other way. They went with the kid, right? Said even a young husband's annoying. right? So it says, and he said, call her. And when she had called her, she stood at the door. And he said, about this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. And kind of like she doesn't believe what he's saying, so to speak, and the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elijah had said unto her, according to the time of life. Let's pray. God, I love you so much. I thank you so much for all you do. I ask that you would let us see something in this story that would change our life, God. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. You may be seated. I think that sometimes, and I think a lot of people are this way, we live in a time where you think, hey, to do something in my life, to be of service, to be, worth something, or whatever you want to call it, to leave your mark, you got to do something really great, right? You think, I got to do some great act, I'm never going to build something that so-and-so could build, or whatever it is. And we think that it has to be like newsworthy. In fact, we're living in a time where we're going to put it out on our news feed, right? We're going to say, like, if the Shunammite woman would have been like people today, while she was building this prophet's chamber, is what we call it, or this place for Elijah to go, she would have been giving the progress. She would have had a GoFundMe probably, got some money for it, and then she would have said, the Lord laid on my heart to do this, and I just want to be a help to preachers, and everything. And she would have got a lot of likes on her page, and it would have been really cool. And she would have wrote a book, on how to get the blessings of God or something like that. But the thing is, the Shunammite, she didn't even want anything for what she was doing, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. And you see, I guess I'm getting to the age of my life where I realize that I'm going to leave a mark on this world whether I like it or not. Does that make sense? I don't have much choice. Something is going to happen. I'm going to die one day, and there's going to be something left behind, whether it's good or bad. And I thought about leaving a legacy here recently, just a way you can leave a legacy. One of the things I told you was get a Bible every year, every 2 years, and read that Bible through. And while you're reading it through, write notes in that Bible. And write little notes here. If you prayed for your kid, write that prayer down sometime. And then one day when you die, you can give that to your kid, right? Give each kid one of those Bibles. You'll leave that legacy of that Bible. And, the truth is, you always ask, and we ask this, what's going to happen when I die? Will anybody remember me? Miss Sherry's so funny, Ruth's mom, she's like, I want it to be raining when I die. Like on my funeral, because I want everybody to be depressed and sad that I died. She's one of those people. You better wear all black. I'm going to wear like a yellow suit to her funeral, but because yellow is her favorite color, so hey, I just think that would work, right? When I'm dead and gone, will I have made any difference, right? And one thing I realize is I have 4 kids, and that's a big ministry right there. Those 4 kids is a big ministry, because you got to understand, those 4 kids get married and have some kids, and whatever they do, he says he's going to be a preacher, so what's he going to do? Where's he going to preach? Where's he going to go? What's he going to do? What are those other girls going to do? I think Kaylee Ray's going to be a missionary. She said, she doesn't say she's going to be a missionary, but she's just really hyped up about missionaries. I just can't get it out of her head. She just is always talking about it, And what will my children remember about their dad? What are my grandchildren, if I live long enough to see those, what are they going to think about me as a grandpa? And, what is history going to say about me? What's history going to say about you? Now, we got a woman here that God saw fit to talk about her in the Bible. What's really funny is we don't even know her name. She's just a Shunammite woman, right? That's what's so funny is they don't give her name. She's that's where she's from, and that's what they call her. And even when Elisha's talking, he calls her that. It's like, surely he knows her name, right? I would think he stays, she made a little house for him to stay in, a little place for him to stay in. But, in our text, we got this woman, and I want you to see how it starts out in verse 8. It says, if on the day Elijah passed by the Shunem, where was a great woman? Okay, so, the first thing I want you to see is, the Bible starts off calling her great. That's kind of a big deal, don't you think, when the Word of God calls you great? Talk about leaving a mark. This unnamed woman is called great. It's an interesting thing that, you know, when you're reading this story, the Shunammite woman, I mean, it just kind of, in the middle of chapter, this is chapter 4, and it just kind of tells you this story. It kind of drops her in there. And how many of y'all have heard about her before, though? Right? I mean, it's like everybody hears about this Shunammite woman. I mean, I think there's probably 1 million sermons about her, right? And it's just a small story, but it's kind of a big deal what happens in the story if you see that. But I think sometimes we don't look at all of what happens. I mean, for some reason, God said we got to shine a light on her, and we got to look at this. I mean, we're still talking about her. And by the way, this is probably right now, today, we're probably close to 2,900 years later. We're still talking about her. Now, 2,900 years from today, I know Jesus is going to come back before that, but let's pretend like he doesn't. They're going to be talking about Cody Shelton. You know, like, you know, this great, you know, Hopenite man. Okay, they maybe won't say your name, but you know, a Hopenite. I don't know if that's what you would call it. You know, but you know, this great Hopenite did these great whatever. Are they going to be talking about Brother John? Are they going to be talking about maybe at Tyson? They'll be like, let me show you some things that one of our farmers did that you should never do. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, put you in the manual, right? But I mean, I got stuck in Pinnacle Mountain. They literally made new signs, like no trespassing signs, just because I got stuck on the mountain, okay? So I really helped, you know, help some people get saved later, right? If you want to put it that way. But I want you to look at this, okay? So she gets mentioned, and why is she mentioned? And I think she's mentioned why a lot of people are mentioned in the Old Testament. Because God wants us to do what she did, right? I mean, they're for our example. And, you know, we talked about that when we were talking about leaving a legacy. A lot of people in the Bible were in there to show us what to do. Show us how to be or what we should do. And we should imitate some of the things that we see here. We don't hear a lot of things about her, but we do hear some good things. And it's interesting. So, as you look at her, first off, I do want to say this, is I don't know, like, how much money she had. We don't necessarily know that, but I wouldn't say she was poor, per se. She did have enough money to build a room for him, right? She did have enough money to give him some food, right, when he came by. And so I wouldn't call her poor. I don't know if I'd call her wealthy either, but I will say she had enough to do something for the man of God. She wasn't just, you know, very, very poor. We can see that just by what she does. But she talks to her husband, and they're like, hey, you know, I want to provide a room for this guy, this man of God. And it's interesting to note that she could tell that Elisha was a man of God. You know, that's an important thing. We're living in a time, and I really think this is happening like worse than you could ever know. The man of God is not really getting a good reception from people. The man of God, preachers aren't really, most even young people, they're not looking at a preacher and saying, I should listen to a preacher. Right? Would you agree with that? You see, do you think there's a little hostility towards preachers in America, maybe more so than you would have said in 1950? You think that's, I mean, you think that there's already some people that say, hey, this guy, he's conservative and he's a preacher, let's just shoot him, right? I mean, that's kind of the attitude some people already have. And there was a time when we knew that it was like, hey, you know what, if God chooses someone to preach the word of God, we better have a little respect for him, right? We better be careful about that. How many of y'all were taught that as a kid, right? And have a little respect for the man of God. I mean, that was something that maybe somebody said. Who thinks that's not being said as much today? Would you agree with that? It's just kind of like, hey, you know, I don't know if people are being taught to respect anybody, okay, for that matter, but not the man of God. And she looked at him and she knew he was a man of God, and she could tell he was the real deal, right? And I want to tell you something. She knew that, and you know, we do have there are fake preachers out there, right? You know, it's like they're selling Crisco oil from Walmart, calling it holy oil for $9.99, you know, and you can bless everything in the house. Hey, I bless stuff with Crisco oil all the time, okay, but it's not the same, it's not a holy blessing, it's kind of a deep fried blessing, okay? And, you know, I'm just saying, or they'll have handkerchiefs. On TV, there'll be guys selling handkerchiefs. This is a prayer cloth, right? Have you ever seen that before? When I was working at Super 8 at night, you know, sometimes just you're watching TV, you know, that's all you can do. You're up there at the hotel all night in the lobby. So I'm watching TV, and you turn the channels, there'll be preachers. And there's a preacher, sure enough, for $19.99, you could buy this prayer cloth, and people, it's been prayed over, and, if you get this cloth, you're going to get your prayers answered, and stuff like that. And you know what? People were probably buying it. But it's not true, right? I mean, there's people who do this in other countries. They'll do fake healings where they'll act like they're taking out a cancer out of somebody's body, stuff like that. And they're just doing a magic trick. And it's all fake, but this guy's not fake. This is a prophet of God. This is Elisha. And, we look at this, and obviously she may have had a little bit of money, but I don't think she had social status or wealth. He talks about talking to the king, and maybe there's something, so I don't think she was just like a well-known person like that. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we think of people in the Bible like Esther. That's a name, how many of y'all know the name Esther? Bathsheba, Sarah and Abraham. You got different women in the Bible, you've heard their names, like Ruth. And here's the thing, this Shunammite woman, we don't even know her name. We never heard her name. And, Esther saved her people, right? And you can look at different, even like Deborah, remember, was actually a leader. And I mean, Hannah and just other people like that. But let's just look at this for a second. So, first off, Elisha was just kind of like a traveling preacher, right? And that's what he was doing when he was traveling through there. He had different places he needed to go preach. And so he would go there, and he would preach, and he would come through there again. And he just kept traveling through there. That's why he kept doing that. We would call him like an evangelist or something like that today. Just go to different places. And for some reason, she noticed him traveling through town. She could see this and noticed it. I mean, obviously probably heard other people talking. She probably maybe heard him preach before. But she noticed him and paid attention to him and took note of him. And the first thing we see here is that she just wanted to do something. And it's funny to me because the truth is she wanted to do something because she saw this guy. And for some reason she thought, man, he's a man of God. Better do something for him. But what I like about her is she wasn't doing it to get fame. She wasn't doing it to get anything else. And we have a lot of people who says, I'll do it for a price, right? I'll do it for a price. There's no doubt about it. Listen to me. We have a money-hungry country, and there's a lot of people. I mean, you want to know one reason why there's churches all over America with no pastor? It's because the church doesn't have enough money to pay them. So they won't come. And my answer to that is they don't need them anyways if they won't just come, right? If that's what they're worried about. But that's what's happening in America. A lot of people aren't saying, hey, I want my kid to grow up to be a preacher, right? But you will hear everybody saying all the church does is take your money so they'll be wealthy. But then, obviously, they've never seen the salary of all the preachers out there, right? You know what I'm saying? You could have a preacher, even a preacher of a big church. There'll be preachers who will be pastoring churches. I'm talking like 10,000 people. Let me ask you a question. How hard would it be to pastor a church of 10,000 people? It'd be pretty tough, right? I mean, that'd be like being the CEO of a big company. But they might pay them like $150,000. You say $150,000 is a lot of money, right? But 10,000 people to be a pastor of is a lot of work, right? You could go run a company of 10,000 people. How much would you get paid? Would you get paid $150,000? I think you get paid a lot more, right? And I'm just saying, on the average, say, are there's some shysters, or there's some, yeah. But I'm just telling you this. There's a reason why people aren't telling their kids, hey, go serve God, go be a missionary. Some people act like, oh, all missionaries want is money. Every missionary I know usually gives up so much to be a missionary. It's crazy. Sure, they get money from churches, but they give it away. It's like there's not a preacher that I fellowship with that I know that doesn't give away a lot more than they even talk about, right? They're gonna fit the need. And when you're preachers and you're talking to people, you just realize that sometimes the church to the preacher is like his baby, right? And it's like his kid. And you're going to help your kid out if they need help, right? You're going to do something for your kid. How many of y'all would go without to help your kid, right? You'd go without to help your kid. And that's what preachers will do. This woman, she could see that this guy needed, and she wasn't going to be in the newspaper for it. She wasn't going to get any kind of award for it, and she wasn't going to get any special blessing as far as she knew. I mean, we have no evidence that she thought they were going to help her in any way. I mean, not at all. She wasn't doing it for that. You know, and I think we often struggle today with service because we think, hey, I got to do something really big. And I got to do something just, out there. And, but can I tell you something? If you've got a neighbor who's sick and you make them a meal and you bring it to them, that's big. Right? I mean, if there's a family in need and you go help them out and you give them some shoes or you give them something, that's a big deal. To this day, I'm telling you what, I saw Floyd Folsom just not too long ago, and when we went to church camp years ago with Fat and Man, okay, that's people's names, Fat and Man. Okay, I'm not talking about me. Okay, that's two different kids, Fat and Man. Those are nicknames, but and their last name's Naso, right? They were we took them to camp when they're 4 years old. They were way better than any teenager we had. Okay, but they were 4 years old. Brother John almost killed, I think it was Fat, jumping, doing a cannonball in the pool. Now remember, if I ever see Fat, he always remembers that. It's like flash before his eyes. Brother John belly flopped in there. But they were at camp. They were so good. They were so nice. Brother Floyd went up to Walmart and he bought both of them a pair of shoes that light up. When you're walking, they light up. And they were so happy. And they still remember that to this day. Look, you don't have to go and do the biggest thing in the world. Just pay attention. There's somebody to help everywhere. You don't have to go looking for a burning building to rescue somebody out of. Just look. There's some kid in church tonight. You could just, you walk up to him and you say, hey, thanks for being faithful. And give them $5. And that will be whoa. It pays to be faithful. Maybe you'll plant that seed in their head. It pays to be faithful. And they'll be faithful till they're 40 and 50 years old, doing something for God because you planted a little seed in their head, right? Just do something to be a blessing. Just be there for someone. Meet the need. Meet the need. This Shunammite woman noticed. She looked out the window. She saw the prophet travel through town. And you know what? She constrained him to stop and eat bread. She basically begged him to do it. I want to ask you a question. Did anybody else in town see the guy? Do you think anybody else saw Elisha in town? Yeah, probably a lot of people. Right? You understand, towns back then weren't big cities. I mean, they were small little towns. Everybody in that town probably seen Elisha come through there. Right? There's just going to be a little marketplace and some hut, some little small place. And they would have all been together, though. And as he walked through there and he had his servant with him and he was a preacher, listen, I guarantee you a lot of people saw. But how many people fed him? How many? All I know of is this one woman, right? Is the only one who tried to help. No one else was interested. No one else was interested because, you know what? They weren't looking for service. They didn't care about serving. Listen, I want to tell you something. You want to have a good, happy life? Become a servant. Become a servant. The most unhappy people I know are always wanting everybody to serve them. They're just unhappy. Hartley's a pretty happy girl. She really is. She's got a pretty good attitude. She loves to do stuff for So, and Haley Ray too. And let me prove it to you. Okay, so we're going to have dinner last night. Now, Ruth was getting some stuff at Walmart. We had some food at home, of course. And she had me call Mom and said, what's the plan for dinner? And here's what she said. Ask Mom if she's got a plan for dinner or does she want me to cook? And so I called Ruth, and of course Ruth said, you cook, okay? So Haley Ray is, she's making some chicken nuggets in the air fryer, and then she's making some fries in the oven. And so she's got these seasoned fries in there, got some chicken nuggets going. Ruth comes back with the groceries, we got everything unloaded. And I'm sitting in the living room, waiting for dinner to get done. And I smell something really good. It's called bacon. I smell it fried. I'm just like, oh yeah. And then, so Ruth comes in the living room and I said, is that bacon? She said, yeah. Don't say anything. Haley Ray's surprising you. Okay. So she cooks all this bacon. she gave everybody 1 piece of bacon and she gave me the rest, which was like 10 pieces of bacon. I mean, we talk about a blessing, right? Okay, the man of God, she's feeding the man of God. Okay, and I'm just telling you, she just wanted to do that. And she was so happy when she walked in with that plate to show me the bacon, right? She was just so happy to show me. She made me some bacon. She wasn't planning to get anything from that. And she didn't get anything. And she didn't care. And then, you know what, a little bit later, Ruth has this certain mason jar she likes to drink from. And she likes ice, and she likes the, you know, the good, nice Sonic type ice and everything. So Hartley got all that and got her some Sprite and brought it to, here, Mother, you know, you'll love this. And they you know, Hartley sometimes will set her alarm clock to get up and do the dishes. And we're like, there must be a rat in the kitchen. No, it's just Hartley. And she'll get up early before everybody, sometimes 5 in the morning. One time we got up and she had did all her school for the day by 8 in the morning. She just got up at like really early, like 4 o'clock in the morning, was just sitting in her room with this lamp and was just doing her school. You know, and still did better than you. But anyways, I'm just saying, but it wasn't like, hey, I want to be done. It was, I want to serve. I want to serve. I want to serve. You want to be happy, start serving people. Quit wanting everybody to serve you. You ever see these people that come in like, why is this food cold? Why is this? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about? Miserable people. Miserable people. They're just unhappy. You know what? You never think of a real servant being unhappy. Is there anything I can do for you? Right? I mean, you remember Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Did anybody ever watch that? Who was the guy's name who was the butler? Jeffrey. He was happy, right? He was pretty happy. He was just kind of like in between, right? But, you know, he was just like walking around with a towel on his hand, you know, and stuff like that. And what I'm saying is, maybe even Mr. Belvedere. Does anybody remember Mr. Belvedere? That's pretty old. But what I'm telling you is a servant is a happy person that chooses to serve. This Shunammite woman didn't have to do what she did, but she wanted to do it. She wanted to do it. And I'll tell my kids sometimes, you don't have to do that. They go, but we want to do it. We want to do it. You know, and people like that are just happier. Now, you know, the truth is, if you're not careful, you'll run around and only be concerned about what you're getting. You'll run around and only be concerned about you. And you'll get so selfish, trust me, you'll be unhappy. It really is true. Listen, you want to be happy? You're going to have to start serving. You're going to have to find a way to serve. You know, 2 Kings 4:8. And it fell on day Elisha passed to Shunem, where it was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. You know, she constrained him. She said to herself, you know what? Here's what I want to do today. Just think about it. Get up in the morning. Brother Cody, what am I going to do today? I'm going to go do something for somebody. I'm just going to bless somebody. Right? Now just think about it. Have you ever been blessed by somebody? Did you like it? Was it good? Did you like it? Come on, think about it. Did you like it? You know, one of the reasons we do Stuff the Preacher is because I got stuffed one time and I was like, man, that was awesome. Right? It was a blessing because we got flooded in between Houston and we had to stay in a hotel, and that money, you know, we actually had extra, but I mean, that helped to stay in that hotel when we got flooded in, right? It gave us a little extra money. And you know what? We weren't as worried about it. Why? Because we had been blessed. Somebody did something for us. But, I mean, just think about it like this. You know, it's Sunday. You're like, man, it's Sunday. I got my schedule. I'm going to come to church. I'm going to, have Sunday school. I'm going to have church. And I'm going to go eat. Well, sometimes you can say, you know what? Maybe I'll take somebody out to eat. Right? Maybe I'll do something for somebody else or whatever. To start including service into your life. Right? Start including service into your life. I mean, this woman, she looked at Elijah and she said, you know, he's a man of God. I ought to do something for him. But the truth is, we've got a lot of people out there who they're pretty sure that the only reason any Christian would even act like they like them, and I want to put a big parenthesis on act, is because we're trying to get something from them, right? And why don't you prove them by your love that that's not what you're there for? Right? You're there for because you care. You're there for because you really do care. And, you know, the truth is, this woman, I believe if I read the story right, she could have went on with no reward and she'd have been happy. Do you agree with that? I think she'd have been perfectly fine. If nobody gave her anything, I think she was going to go on and that was going to be fine. But the thing is, it comes down to, well, Elisha wanted to do something for her. Elisha wanted to help her. And I just want you to think about this thing, what she did. You know, I don't know what it would have cost back then to add a room, you know, to add a place for him. But, you know, let's put it in today's terms. Could you imagine, like, the cost? What would it cost you to put, like, just a decent bedroom onto your house? What do you think it would cost? You know, a place for a preacher to stay. You think it cost you $30,000 to build onto your house with a decent bedroom with some heat and air and a candlestick? No, okay. But you might do better than a candlestick in the school, right? But I'm just saying it would cost you a little bit. You know, and that almost seems ridiculous to us. I would never spend $30,000, you know, just to help some traveling preacher, right? You know, it's like we're trying to, you know, our house isn't the mansion or whatever. We're going to make that one place. It could be a shop for me, but we're going to make it a place where it'll have a kitchen, where it'll have, you know what, Haley Ray will use that kitchen and she'll get money for missions by selling stuff, but then it'll have a bathroom. You know why though? But then if someone needs to stay there, they can stay there. Right? Maybe there's somebody in need, they can stay there. Maybe you know, whatever it is, maybe it's a preacher, maybe it's a missionary, maybe it's just somebody who needs some help, right? And you know what? It costs something though. I mean, it costs money, it costs time. You know, it's an inconvenience because you got to act different when everybody's there. You can't wear your normal lounge clothes that looks really bad with all the stains on it. You know, you gotta like stay dressed up in the house and walk around with a suit and tie. Yes, this is how I dress until bedtime. Okay, you know, and stuff like that, right? And the kids start running, and you go, "Our kids never run when I promise you, this is weird." You know, whatever it is. But I'm just telling you what. She goes and she decides, and you know what? She could have actually maybe built a room and just like rented it out, and she could have like flipped that house type show. She could have made some money on this room, made an income from this room, but that's not what she was doing. She didn't care about making money. She wasn't trying to rent the space out. Here's what she was doing. It's real personal. She was looking at a person, an individual, and saying, I would like to bless them. I'd like to do something. I'd like to just be a blessing to them. God's been good to me. I'm going to be good to them. Right? I mean, just that simple. I mean, I don't need anything. I just want to do it. And so here it is. And you know what's funny is, Elisha, he wasn't asking for this stuff, right? As far as we can tell, he didn't ask her for the food. She constrained him for the food. He didn't ask her for the place to stay. She decided she was going to do it. And the truth is, he comes to her and he's kind of like, hey, do you want something? And it was just kind of like, well, no, she basically tells him, I dwell among mine own people. She's okay with not getting anything. That's fine. And I think that Elisha was just like, no, I just don't think that's right. I mean, I want to do something for this woman that did so much for me. Right? And I want to tell you something. You got to understand this, because I want you to be careful. Maybe you're not like me. But sometimes I'm selfish. Okay, and I know you're never selfish. And sometimes I do things for my own benefit, right? Like all of a sudden my wife's got some food that I want to eat, and all of a sudden I'm real sweet to her. Because I'm thinking she'll give me some, right? Okay, and that's really what it's about, right? Or we go to a restaurant, and I want her to order something real big that she can't finish because I'm getting the leftovers, right? Whatever it is. But in my mind, I'm trying to benefit from the good I'm doing. Does that make sense? Sometimes you're not careful. You're like, I'm going to give, so I'll get. I give to missions, so God will give back to me. No, that's not how you do it, right? This woman wasn't doing that way. She was just like, hey, I'm just going to do it. And it doesn't matter if I get anything. And you know what? Sometimes we get selfish and we do everything we do expecting something. Right? Like, I just thought God was going to do this for me if I did this for him. Well, you shouldn't have been thinking that. That's not how that works. So think about this. He's been staying in this little room. He's appreciative. And, he's kind of offering her some stuff. Maybe he can talk to the king or whatever. But, she just doesn't want that. And she kind of declines that. And so he's going to talk to, he's going to look at his servant. What does she need? What does she want? And the thing is, he knows that she doesn't have a kid. He's told she doesn't have a kid. By the way, the only person who could give her a kid was going to be God, right? And because she was helping the man of God, this was something that could be done. Now, she wasn't asking for it. That wasn't what she really was asking for. And I got to say this about her before we move on from this point is, she was what we call content. She was content. She was content. She was happy. Really happy people are content. You know what I'm saying? You got to watch yourself. And you know what I think about a content person? Just bear this out with me. Content people are happy people. Do you agree with that? Raise your hand. Content people are happy people. I also think content people love people. They love more than hate. Listen, a discontent person is full of hate. Would you agree with that? Does discontent and hate go together? Absolutely. And contentness and love go together. And God is love. You understand that? I want to tell you something. You want to find an unhappy person? They hate everything. I hate this, and I hate that, and I hate this about my church, and I hate that about my wife, and I hate this about my car, I hate this about that. Why would you do? They're like looking at everything. Like you get a brand new car, and they're going to be like, everything's going to be great, and everything, and they're going to look at it and they go, well, I wish they put the button for this over here. They should have redesigned it for me. Yeah, and they're always going to find something to hate. Yeah, it's pretty good, but I don't like this, and it's pretty good, but I don't like this. They're going to find something in the Bible. I'm just telling you what, this woman seemed content because she didn't care. She was going to build that